Hello, my name is David Reed. Thank you for tuning in for my dissertation overview. My dissertation topic is Why Women Go Elsewhere, a case study of women's underrepresentation in computer science. What I'll walk through in this overview is, first of all, the problem and purpose statements to my research, the actual research questions that I looked at, the theoretical framework that I used to tie it together, walk through the methodology that I followed, spend a little more time focused on the findings, and then talk about the implications from those findings as well as my distribution plan. So the problem: women are underrepresented in computer science professions, and this problem ripples through society because of downstream effects it has due to the fact that computer science and computers are so ingrained in the operation of many facets of society. So for instance, by being underrepresented, programmers are not considering the needs of women as they're developing new applications. If we take a field like healthcare, a lot of the systems being built are biased towards identifying symptoms and treatments for men and don't do as good a job for women. Women, by being absent, miss out on a wonderful set of career opportunities. It's a field that continues to grow. And finally, their absence exacerbates the income inequality that women deal with because that inequality is not so prevalent in computer science jobs. My literature review looked at 5 major areas. So just very briefly, I looked at the ubiquity of computer science in society. It's just used everywhere. If people want to figure out how to get from one place to another, they use GPS. If they're trying to communicate with friends and family, they use a variety of online systems. If they're trying to get their news or entertainment, again, all these things are being driven by computerized systems. The underrepresentation of women in computer science has been studied for a long time. I've got these 2 figures 3 and 4, that kind of demonstrate a little of that fact that they are underrepresented. In the case of figure 3, women hold more professional and related occupations in the workforce. This is in the United States. But in computer science positions, they are grossly underrepresented. Or if we look at the number of women graduating from undergraduate degree programs in computer science, again, women in 2003 represented about 28%. In 2019, which is the last year I have here, it was down to 21%. Next, I looked at the reasons that try to explain why women are in fact underrepresented. Why are they absent? And so things around belongingness, feeling that they should be in this field, their self-efficacy about computer science, stereotype threat, just deciding that they can't do this or don't fit, hostility, whether it's in the classroom or the workplace that is experienced, and the absence of role models. They don't see a lot of women in the field. They may not see computer science faculty that are women, and so they don't see themselves. I then looked at the reason that women do go into computer science, because it's not that there are none, it's just they're underrepresented. And so culture seems to play a role, and certainly personality seems to show up in the research as well. Finally, I looked at program evaluations. There have been a lot of programs for decades to try and attract more women into computer science fields. So whether it's organizations like Women Who Code, Girls Who Code, or just civic groups that get together and try and create opportunities for women to come and get some experience with computers. It's been going on for a long time. So these support groups have existed, coding camps, etc. So I just looked at them and what they've been doing over the past couple of decades. The purpose, then, of my research was to identify the reasons that women are less likely than men to consider a computer science degree even after they take an introductory computer science course. And part of this came from my own observation. I teach computer science courses, both intro level and advanced. And in my intro level class, I would see good diversity. But in my upper level classes, it was rare to see a lot of women. Normally, they were male dominated in the classroom. So the women were kind of disappearing or being erased in some way through the process. That led to my primary research question, which was to understand how women's lived experiences, so things that they've experienced before they came to college, framed within Bronfenbrenner's ecological systems model, which I'll get to in a moment, influence their attitudes towards pursuing a career in computer science. And then my secondary question was, in what ways did an introductory 4-credit hour computer science course shape women's attitudes about pursuing a career in computer science? The theoretical framework that I used was Bronfenbrenner's ecological systems model, and this is known as a person, place, context, and time model. So at the center of the model is the individual. That's the person we're talking about, and they interact with other people. And those people exist in a couple of systems from Bronfenbrenner's perspective. Those individuals could be in the microsystem. So those are people that the individual interacts with quite frequently and closely. Their parents, close friends, the schools that they're in, and the teachers that they see quite often. That would form their microsystem. And then there's the macro system. These are people and places that the individual is less frequently interacting with. So perhaps they take a dance class and they see some of the people in the dance class once a week. There are certain places that they might go, stores they go into, aspects of the culture around them. That would form their macro system. The exosystem are those individuals and places that the microsystem individuals participate with. So for instance, the individual's microsystem includes their parents. Well, their parents might go to work. At work, the parents interact with other individuals who never interact directly with the individual. But the behavior of those individuals in that exosystem could cause the parent maybe to have to work late. And then the individual would notice, hey, mom or dad isn't home for dinner very often, and that's a side effect of something happening in the exosystem. So it can influence the individual, but it's a more indirect path. The mesosystem is the consonance and dissonance of information that the individual is receiving from members of the microsystem. So they might get different opinions about things from their friends than they do from their parents. That potential tension is defined in the mesosystem. And then finally, the chronosystem is simply the idea that the individual is living through time, and so the components, the individuals and places in these different systems change over time. When the child is young, they've got a certain set of friends. As they grow up, maybe they move, they're now in a new area, and so they go to different schools and they meet different people for their friends. So the life around them is changing, and so that's what the chronosystem deals with. The methodology that I chose, again, this is a qualitative study, so I used a single case study design. I interviewed my participants, so I set it up as a pre and post interview. So I interviewed participants prior to them taking a computer science course, the introductory computer science course. And I interviewed them again at the conclusion of the course. 3 of my participants I brought together into a focus group. I started in August of 2022. I invited women taking the introductory computer science course to participate. I had 3 volunteer to participate. So I interviewed those individuals prior to the course, interviewed them again at the conclusion of the course in December of 2022, and I also brought those 3 individuals together into a focus group. I repeated this in January of 2023, so for the spring semester in 2023, again, inviting women who were taking the introductory computer science course. I had 1 person volunteer, interviewed them before they took the course and again after. I took their data and transcribed it and placed it into a system known as MaxQDA, just to manage the information and allow me to do the coding and attach the individual's words to those codes and the themes. I started from the 5 systems in Bronfenbrenner's model and looked for connections between the information being related by the individual through the interview to which of the systems it was associated with. And from that, I then evolved lower level codes and then extracted themes. 4 themes emerged from this process. First, my participants had a coding-centric view of computer science. Second, they felt computer science was a complex field. Third, they felt that computer science offered only a limited ability to have much impact on society. And fourth, they recognized the fact that women were underrepresented in computer science. So let me drill into some detail around these 4 findings. First of all, the idea that computer science is all about coding, this coding-centric view. A couple of my participants I've got quotes here from. So Elizabeth defined computer science as coding and working with actual computers. Duro felt that she did not want to work for computer science. She didn't want to be coding all day. And let me just note that all these names are pseudonyms chosen by the participants. This coding-centric view is reflected in research. Research has shown that many women feel this pervasive image, the solitary male programmer, and they're wrapped up with computer science and they dream in code. Other research has shown that women may hold a view that suggests the field is populated by geeky guys and the field itself is seen as little more than coding. So my participants certainly demonstrated this belief. The second finding, the idea that computer science is a particularly complex field. Marie felt that the computer science course, she was concerned when she signed up for it that it was going to be very complex, sort of inaccessible, and she was intimidated by it before she went into it. Caitlin shared the fact that when she was first exposed to computer science in middle school, she didn't like it. She'd get frustrated if she didn't know what something meant, and she would give up. And these are reflected in the literature. So research has shown that girls are more negatively influenced than boys by this perceived difficulty of computer science and the profession itself. Other research has found that women felt the ability to learn programming was somehow an innate ability. You didn't learn it, you either had it or you didn't have it, which would then lead to women quickly giving up if they struggled, because it simply meant they didn't have whatever this innate ability was, and so there was no point in trying to go further. My third finding, this idea that computer science offers only a limited ability to do anything meaningful in society. In a couple of quotes, Caitlin felt that she didn't know she wanted to pursue computer science further, in other words, after the introductory course, because she felt like the rest of it would just be about optimizing things, making her programs faster. Duro felt that women really were focused on people and relationships more than this just thinking like computer science. And again, in the literature, we find that women and families often felt that computer science work does not involve dealing with real societal problems. Others have found that women felt computer science didn't emphasize a societal impact. And this ties to a broader finding that women often avoid academic majors if they don't believe that's going to lead them to a career that's socially meaningful. And then my fourth finding, underrepresentation in computer science, the fact that women are underrepresented, certainly recognized by my participants. Elizabeth, before taking the computer science course, the introductory course, she was scared there weren't going to be any girls in the course. She thought she'd just be in a room full of guys. And Marie noted that those who are making significant contributions in computer science are mostly male. And again, in the research, we find that some women, when they're aware of this male dominance in a field, they avoid the field. They don't want to put themselves in that position. So that immediately reduces or takes that opportunity off the table for them. And studies of women have also shown that if they recognize their underrepresentation, so they go into a class and they see that they are underrepresented in that computer science course, that they then abandon computer science. My recommendations focus on the fact that my participants' feelings about computer science seem to mainly come from the fact that they didn't understand the breadth of the field. This focus on coding and its complexity, and the fact that that is then boring and doesn't really make a meaningful difference to society, all of these things seem to relate to the fact that they don't understand the breadth of the field. The impact of that, the recommendation, is that those in a position to influence and inform women about computer science do so. So for undergraduate faculty, utilizing meaningful real-world problems in their classes and labs so that students start to understand the breadth of the field. It's not just about coding. K through 12 teachers, bring in the use of computer science in the subjects that they're covering. If they're talking about biology, talk about the use of computers in biology or chemistry, etc. Talk about computers as an active component of the different subject matter. Those who are creating opportunities to bring more women into the field, so things like Girls Who Code or civic organizations that put together programs to bring women in and let them gain some experience with computer science, make sure that they're bringing in speakers that are talking about a broad use of computer science, not just the writing of programs, but the way these systems are being used. Parents can talk about where they've seen computers being used, how they interact with them, whether it's just in their personal experience or at their work, and just how those things are impacting lives. And then finally, publishers, those who are creating the materials that teachers use to teach computer science, can add discussions and case studies, especially in their introductory materials, so that students, as they're learning maybe to program in Python or something, are also reading about downstream how computer science impacts society. My distribution plan then is to communicate with these different stakeholders in channels that tend to tie with where they would be looking. So undergraduate faculty publishing in journals such as Communication of the ACM. Publishers tend to be at conferences talking about their offerings, so go to those conferences, talk to them about adding additional content. Those opportunity creators have workshops, so working with them on those workshops. K through 12 teachers, so publishing in places that they would see this information, these ideas. And then finally, parents, trying to reach them through publications that they would be likely to read. These are my references from this presentation. And I want to thank you for attending this. I really want to thank my advisor, Dr. Leanne Howell, who has provided so much guidance through this process. Thank you.